Hello everyone. In this presentation, I will be presenting the following work titled Feature Selection of Scattering Coefficients for Water Leakage Classification. In this case, we compare two main feature extraction techniques or feature selection, that is the minimum redundancy, maximum relevance algorithm, and the analysis of variance. This work was made by Eric Martinez Rios and Rogelio Bustamante. Okay. So, well, first it is important to notice that, water losses are caused by the aging infrastructure, the soil subsidence, and the damage of pipelines. And the early detection of these water leakages produced by these damages in the water distribution networks is difficult because many of these pipelines are underground, and also we use noisy sensors like flow or pressure sensors that maybe mitigate the presence uh, of the leakage in their readings. Furthermore, um, the traditional way in which we can monitor the state of the of the water leak of the pipeline is by using surveys. Nevertheless, they are costly and slow. And so the goal here is to enable faster and also data-driven leakage detection methods that allow us to detect these water leakages automatically. So in the literature, there is already a plethora of methods that have already tried to detect water leakages. And in particular, we can divide these methods into hardware-based methods like using gas injections and thermography. And also we have software-based methods. And we can divide software-based methods between hydraulic models. Basically, we need to generate a dynamic model of the water network. And also we have the use of data-driven models. For instance, based on the historical data of the water network, maybe we can use a technique to generate a model based on that historical data. And nevertheless, there are limitations with these methods. For instance, in the case of the hardware methods, they are expensive and time-consuming. In the case of hydraulic models, they require the estimation of the pipe parameters, but sometimes they are unavailable or they are difficult to estimate. And in the case of data-driven methods, they require large data sets and also adequate feature computation, no? If we want to uh, generate a model, well, maybe we need to compute features from the data that we have, but computing those features can be challenging. So here, or one of the main strategies used in this study was a technique that is called the wavelet scattering transform. The wavelet scattering transform basically help us to automatically extract features from data, time series data, by using this algorithm. And also, one of the advantages of this scattering transform is that you don't need to use some deep learning architecture to extract the features automatically. You can handcraft the features in a way that they are invariant to translation, but also stable to deformations. And that can help us to reduce the within class variance of the set of signals. Also, this technique does not require massive data and also the use of deep neural network architectures. However, one of the concerns of the scattering transform is that it can produce many coefficients, and also selecting its parameters can be challenging. Here in this figure, you can see the overall architecture of the scattering transform. Basically, it's a cascade of convolutions with wavelets. There are modeled wavelets that basically take the energy of decompose the energy of the signal of the function that we want to analyze in different frequency bands. And essentially, what we are doing with this cascade of convolutions with wavelets is to transfer the higher frequencies of the waveform to lower frequencies in order to produce an invariant of the waveforms or the data that help us to reduce the within class variance. And by doing that, maybe we can reduce or improve the performance or the detection of different types of water leakages. So the main objectives of this study is to uh, compare two different approaches to select the coefficients of the scattering transform that can be used for classification because the scattering transform produces a lot of coefficients. So we want to reduce the number of features in order to improve performance or reduce the computational time or of training or executing the model. So for this purpose, we will be analyzing vibration data related to water networks in order to detect different water leakages, and the features will be selected by using this analysis of variance and the minimum redundancy and maximum relevance algorithm. So the workflow is as follows. First, we have water leakage of associated with vibration data. We will apply the scattering transform to this vibration data. We will be using feature selection by comparing these two approaches, the ANOVA and the minimum redundancy and maximum relevance algorithm. And finally, we will train a support vector machine classifier. For the dataset, well, we use a publicly available dataset collected by Agash Hali. This is the reference 16 of this work. Basically, it consists of 80 vibration measurements that consisted of two different types of network, a loop and a branch water network. Also, we have a total of four leak types and also the presence of no leak. And also we make a segmentations of the vibration data into 1 second non-overlapping some smaller waveforms that led us to 1,200 samples. And also, well, some pre-processing steps that we applied to the data was the mean removal, and also we use wavelet denoising in order to remove the high frequency content of the waveform. And well, here in this figure, you can see in figure A the loop water network, and in figure B, you can see the architecture of the branch water network. Also, here it is noticed that the water leakages were generated at the center of each of the two water networks. This is the result of the of applying the wavelet scattering transform to the available vibration data. Here you can see that we are comparing visually the scattering coefficients for each of the different water leakages for the loop and the branch water network. And also you can see visually that there are certain differences. No, we can distinguish the scattering coefficients between the different water leakages across all of the coefficients that we get from this transformation. And well, the idea here is that you can see that we are generating a very large feature vector of 20 features, no? And here in this study, we wanted to see if we can achieve similar performance by reducing the amount of features, and also see if there is a decrease in the computational time in both the training and execution times. So the first feature selection approach that we tested was the analysis of variance. Basically, we were computing the F score of the features. Basically, this F score is basically taking the variance between the classes. In this case, the variance between the scattering coefficients between the classes or type of leakages that we wanted to detect. And we divide this by the variance of the scattering coefficients of the within class of within classes. That means the variance of each of the classes or each of the scattering coefficients that corresponds to each of the type of water leakages that we wanted to compare. In this case, we want to maximize this F score, no? F values that are higher means a stronger separation, no? And also this relates to a better feature. And another approach that we compared was the minimum redundancy maximum relevance algorithm. The idea is to compute or maximize what we call the mutual information quotient. That is basically computing the mutual information between the input feature and the response, and then divide this by the mutual information of each of the pairs of input features, no? Because we want to reduce the redundancy in the input features that we're introducing into the classifiers. So if two features are giving us the same information or have the same relevance, maybe we want to discard one of them, no, in order to reduce the feature vector. Okay, so, well, this is the scores that we get from each of the scattering coefficients for both the loop and what network for the analysis of variance results. And these are the ranking that we obtain with the minimum redundancy and maximum relevance algorithm. And here, if you compare the two, you will notice that some features have higher relevance than the other ones. And this changes between the loop and branch water networks, and also between using the criteria of the analysis of variance over the criteria of the minimum redundancy and maximum relevance algorithm. Here, our idea, or as a first approach, what we decided to do was to reduce the number of scattering coefficients based on these two metrics into half of it. And, well, in this case, we reduce the number of features from 20 to 10 features by selecting the ones with a higher score between each of the two methods. And, well, we train a super vector machine, and we obtain the following results. Here, we are reporting the results for each of the classes or water leakage types, and also the training, the validation, and testing accuracy. Here it is noticed that, well, the ANOVA analysis, well, the feature selection performed via the analysis of variance give us the best testing accuracy compared to the minimum redundancy, maximum relevance algorithm. And this is for the loop water network. For the branch water network, we notice that both methods, feature selection, well, the two feature selection approaches give us similar testing accuracy. And, well, also we wanted to compare the feature selection approaches using this study by a benchmark. So we were using reference 12 that also use the same data set and the same techniques. But in this case, reference 12 used the 20 features derived from the scattering transform for both water networks. But here, we wanted to notice here that the testing accuracy that we obtain using the ANOVA and the minimum redundancy, maximum relevance algorithm are close to the testing accuracy that we can obtain by using the whole feature set. Also, we noticed that we got a decrease in the training and execution times from going from 0.65 seconds to 0.0556 seconds. And the inference time also decreased from 0.0052 seconds to 0.0049 seconds. So, as conclusions, well, in this case, the ANOVA and the minimum redundancy maximum relevance algorithms effectively reduce the feature dimensionality of the scattering transform from 20 to 10 features. And also, we obtain similar accuracy to previous work that uses the field feature set. And in this case, the best results were 96.25% of accuracy for branch water network using the ANOVA and the minimum redundancy maximum relevance algorithm. And we obtained an 88.75% accuracy for the loop water network using the ANOVA. As future work, well, we didn't perform an analysis of verifying that the analysis of variance assumptions were satisfied. So we apply this method with how analyzing the distribution of the scattering coefficients. Also, another area of potential improvement is tuning the parameters of the scattering transform. Also, we have the possibility to extend this analysis to other type of data, like pressure and acoustic data. And, well, also we can perform a comparison with other type of classifiers, such as the LDA, decision trees, or multilayer perceptrons. And, well, these are the reference of this presentation. And, well, I don't know if you have some question or comment about this work. And also, well, thanks for your attention and time.